Welcome to a new sermon series. In term 3 of the school year, we take a break from our usual pattern of expository preaching series that work through books or sections of the Bible, and instead we take a topical approach. Last year I explored the incarnation of Jesus with you, the awesome mystery of God becoming human. This year I want to reflect with you on the person and character of Jesus. Earlier this year, as I was wondering how to approach the topic, I came across this wonderful book by Dane Ortlund. The title of the book is Gentle and Lowly, The Heart of Christ for Sinners and Sufferers. I found it such an encouragement and a balm personally that I decided to shape a series of sermons around some of the 20 Bible passages that Dane Ortlund meditates on in his book. Before we launch into our first Bible passage, let me read you the opening paragraphs of Dane Ortlund's introduction to give you the flavour of the book and our series. This is a book about the heart of Christ. Who is he? Who is he really? What is most natural to him? What ignites within him most immediately as he moves towards sinners and sufferers? What flows out most freely, most instinctively? Who is he? This book is written for the discouraged, the frustrated, the weary, the disenchanted, the cynical, the empty, those running on fumes, those whose Christian lives feel like constantly running up a descending escalator. Those of us who find ourselves thinking, how could I mess up that bad? Again. It is for that increasing suspicion that God's patience with us is wearing thin. For those of us who know God loves us, but suspect we have deeply disappointed him. Who have told others of the love of Christ, yet wonder if, as for us, he harbours mild resentment, who wonder if we have shipwrecked our lives beyond what can be repaired. It is written, in other words, for normal Christians. In short, it is for sinners and sufferers. How does Jesus feel about them? As the COVID-19 pandemic approaches the 2-year mark, and as we find ourselves in our 6th pandemic lockdown in Victoria this weekend, these questions seem a little more pressing, and the answers we will discover are a wonderful and timely comfort. Now listen to the words of Jesus in the Bible. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. This is the only place in the Bible that talks specifically about Jesus' heart. If we want to know the heart of Christ, here is a good place to start. This beautiful passage is an invitation. To reflect on it, let's look at the invitees, the invitation itself, and the one who invites. Who is invited? Jesus says, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened. What is it that wears you out and weighs you down? Perhaps worries about family, maybe being separated from loved ones, or financial stress, or uncertain job prospects, or the limbo of a pending visa application, or the struggles of chronic illness and old age, or a sense of insecurity about God's acceptance of you. Have you been feeling weary and burdened as the pandemic drags on? I certainly have. I've been feeling awash in the unrelenting tide of upheaval and uncertainty, pushed under by the waves of death notices and other tragedies, swept away by the current of restrictions from so much that I want to do and from so many people I want to be with. Even as a minister, perhaps especially as a minister, there have been plenty of days when I've had to drag myself out of bed. When I heard that we were snapping into lockdown 6 in Victoria this weekend, I cried. Yet my experience of the pandemic has been a privileged one, even by Australian standards. So I wonder, what does Jesus feel about that, about me? Then I hear his invitation, rest, rest for your souls. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. When you are weary and burdened, the offer of rest is welcome, isn't it? What comes to mind when you think of rest? During our first 6 months in Mexico City, we lived with a Mexican family who welcomed us into their home and their lives and became dear friends. After we moved out of their home, they moved out of Mexico City to live in a little town to the south. We used to see in the new year by visiting them for a few days at their country home. Although it was winter, the climate was warm and humid. Each day after lunch, I would lie on a hammock in the shade of a tree and sink into sleep. The afternoon would drift by and the tiredness of the year would begin to slip away. If I were Prime Minister, siesta time would be enshrined in law, but that's not quite the kind of rest Jesus has in mind. The rest Jesus offers has both a present dimension and an eternal dimension. Hebrews chapter 4 speaks of a rest that is still to come for God's people and says that we who have believed enter that rest now. It is both our final hope of the new creation and our present experience of relationship with Jesus. Jesus' promise, "You will find rest for your souls," quotes God's words from the Old Testament book of Jeremiah. This is what the Lord says. Stand at the crossroads and look. Ask for the ancient paths. Ask where the good way is and walk in it, and you will find rest for your souls. But you said, we will not walk in it. Jesus is saying that the way to take the ancient paths, the good way, is found in him, in coming to him, learning from him, taking his yoke. That is the good way. Will you walk in it? Jesus is not offering the rest of inactivity, but refreshment to carry on. The metaphor of the yoke makes that clear. Jesus does not say, put your feet up in my recliner or sleep in my hammock. He says, take my yoke. Jesus probably has in mind not the double yoke used to harness two animals together, but the single human yoke used to spread the weight of a load across the shoulders. It could also indicate the status of a conquered soldier or a slave. In the New Testament, the language of a yoke is always metaphorical, a symbol of submission to some power or authority. Here the yoke speaks of the discipline of discipleship, of obedience to Jesus' teaching. Jesus' invitation is a call not just to come to him, but to learn from him and follow him. Yet his yoke is easy and his burden is light. Richard France writes, a yoke was intended to ease the discomfort in carrying a heavy load, but it also symbolized obedience and the acceptance of responsibility. The rabbis often spoke of taking on the yoke of the law, and under their direction that burden could become heavy. Jesus' yoke, by contrast, is easy, not because his call to discipleship is less demanding, but because it makes us pupils of one who is gentle and humble in heart. The key lies in the personal invitation. Come to me. The key to it all is the heart of the one who invites us. Come to me. I will give you rest. Take my yoke. Learn from me. I am gentle and humble in heart. My yoke is easy, my burden is light. The reason only Jesus can give this rest is clear from the verse before our passage. All things have been committed to me by my Father. No one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son, and those to whom the Son chooses to reveal him. In light of Jesus' unique relationship with the Father and his unique status as the only one who can reveal the Father, it is easy to think, as the Puritan Thomas Goodwin put it, that Jesus has a severe and sour disposition against sinners. Dane Ortlund writes beautifully about this, and I want to close with his words. We project onto Jesus our skewed instincts about how the world works. Human nature dictates that the wealthier a person, the more they tend to look down on the poor. The more beautiful a person, the more they are put off by the ugly. And without realizing what we are doing, we quietly assume that one so high and exalted has corresponding difficulty drawing near to the despicable and unclean. Sure, Jesus comes close to us, we agree, but he holds his nose. A homeless man visited our church a while ago. He was apparently sleeping rough and hadn't washed or changed clothes for a very long time. When he entered the building, I could smell the stench on him from 30 metres away in another room. I went to speak with him, but it took gut-clenching self-control not to gag as I drew close. Have you ever felt that Jesus approaches you that way? Jesus comes close to you, but he holds his nose because you stink? That's not how it is, because it's not who he is. In the one place in the Bible where the Son of God pulls back the veil and lets us peer way down into the core of who he is, we are not told that he is austere and demanding in heart. We are not told that he is exalted and dignified in heart. We are not even told that he is joyful and generous in heart. Letting Jesus set the terms, his surprising claim is that he is gentle and lowly in heart. This is not who he is to everyone indiscriminately. This is who he is for those who come to him, who take his yoke upon them, who cry to him for help. Gentle and lowly does not mean mushy and frothy, but for the penitent, his heart of gentle embrace is never outmatched by our sins and foibles and insecurities and doubts and anxieties and failures. For lowly gentleness is not one way Jesus occasionally acts towards others. Gentleness is who he is. It is his heart. And his invitation remains open today for all who are weary and burdened. Come to me.